Ende letzter Woche haben die USA und Russland den größten Gefangenenaustausch vollzogen seit Ende des Kalten Krieges. Abgesehen von den Ergebnissen verblüfften die augenscheinlich im Hintergrund gelaufenen Verhandlungen zwischen Washington und Moskau. Wie steht es um die diplomatischen Kanäle zwischen den USA und Russland? Und welchem Zweck dient der Gefangenentausch? Sollte er als Erfolg für die US-Vizepräsidentin Kamala Harris dargestellt werden?
Diplomacy is carried out by diplomats, members of the State Department or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. These negotiations were carried out by the CIA and the Russian FSB, or the Russian SVR. This was not diplomacy. This was spy versus spy kind of stuff. So let's not conflate the two. This is not a diplomatic success. This is something that was done in the shadows by both Russia and the United States to make a political problem go away for each country. Russia, has intelligence officers that have been arrested by the United States, by America's allies in Europe, and Russia was holding, personnel of great sensitivity to the West, people that were accused of espionage, Paul Whelan, Gershkowitz, and Russian opposition leaders who were acting on behest of the collective West. And so this prisoner exchange was negotiated. I think one of the reasons why it was negotiated at this time is that the United States government, the Biden administration, recognized that if they don't close the deal now, there will not be an opportunity to bring these Americans and American allies home. After the November election, there's a good chance that Donald Trump will be the next president, and all the efforts that were underway would be swept aside. They'd have to start over from square one. And so the United States felt that they had no choice but to engage in this prisoner swap to bring this issue to an end. And of course, Russia got everything they wanted out of this prisoner swap. So Russia was very happy to go along. But this is not about diplomacy. This is not a diplomatic success. This is old school Cold War spy versus spy activity.
Deutschland spielte als Drehscheibe eine zentrale Rolle bei dem Gefangenenaustausch. US-Präsident Joe Biden erwähnte das Engagement Deutschlands und der Bundesregierung dankend bei seiner Ansprache. Auf Nachfrage eines Journalisten, was Deutschland als Gegenleistung erhalten habe, antwortete Biden: gar nichts. Wie bewertest du das? Was für einen Nutzen zieht Deutschland aus dem Gefangenenaustausch, und ist es mittlerweile normal für einen US-Präsidenten offen zuzugeben, dass ein US-Alliierter keine eigenen Interessen durchzusetzen hat?
Remember, Joe Biden blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, so I don't think he gives a damn about Germany or anything Germany thinks. He's been disrespecting Germany from day one, and he continues to do so to this day. The Germans clearly did not want to release the prisoner that they were holding. They accused this man of committing murder in broad daylight on the streets of Berlin. And that's how they spun this. So from their perspective, the United States muscled them into releasing a cold-blooded murderer. From the Russian perspective, the man who was released is a hero. A Russian intelligence operative who killed a terrorist who was responsible for the deaths of scores of Russians, including Russian prisoners who were executed in horrific fashion. And Russia made it clear that there would not be a prisoner swap without this man being put on an airplane and returned to Russia. The United States needed this prisoner swap, and so the United States strong-armed Germany into doing this. Straight up, plain and simple. Germany is a tool of the United States. Germany is a compliant poodle of the United States. When the United States says sit, Germany sits. When we say roll over, you roll over. When we say go pee in the backyard, you go pee in the backyard. That's what Germany did. That's Germany's job here. Congratulations, Germany. You stand for nothing.
Lass uns beim Thema US-Wahlkampf bleiben. Laut Medienberichten soll der US-Wahlkampf auch für die Kriegshandlungen in der Ukraine eine zentrale Rolle einnehmen. Angeblich sollen ukrainische Angriffe wie etwa auf die Krimbrücke mit der Harris-Kampagne abgestimmt werden, um der demokratischen Präsidentschaftskandidatin somit wichtige und womöglich entscheidende Argumente in die Hand zu geben. Hältst du so eine Verbindung zwischen US-Wahlkampf und Ukraine-Krieg für realisierbar? Welchen Einfluss wird der Ukraine-Krieg für die Harris-Kampagne haben?
Vice President Kamala Harris has no say whatsoever in anything dealing with the national security of the United States. She is not a player. She's not in the chain of command. She cannot pick up the phone and dictate any outcomes to the Department of Defense, Department of State, or anything. She is a nobody, a nothing. So the idea that somehow the Harris campaign is orchestrating a secret military operation to achieve victory in Ukraine is just laughable, absolutely laughable. It would be the end of the Harris campaign. First of all, she would be arrested for treason if she is doing this. She has no legal role to play here. She is a candidate for president. She is not the president. Right now, she serves as the vice president, which means that if the president deems her worthy, she can be invited to sit around the table and listen, but shut up. If he asks her a question, she can answer. But the idea that Kamala Harris is proactively planning combat operations with the Ukrainians in a way that influences the American election is the stuff of stupid novels. It's not realistic. Kamala Harris is incapable of operating on that level. She's never operated on that level. And suddenly to believe that she's now some sort of strategic genius working with the Ukrainians to achieve outcomes is absurd. Ukraine is in a war with Russia that it is losing, and losing badly. And nothing about the American election is going to change that outcome.
Die ersten vom NATO-Westen gelieferten F-16-Kampfjets haben die Ukraine erreicht. In den sozialen Medien zeigt die Ukraine stolz, wie die Jets über Kiew und anderen Städten kreisen, bislang offenbar nur zu Propagandazwecken für die eigene Bevölkerung. Wie werden die F-16-Kampfflugzeuge militärisch eingesetzt werden? Und wie werden die russischen Streitkräfte gegen sie vorgehen? Warum lässt Russland es zu, dass sie entgegen vorherigen Ankündigungen überhaupt abheben können?
The F-16 are 40-year-old aircraft that are configured in air-to-air mode. We don't know if they're operating out of Ukrainian bases. Rumor has it that they're operating out of Romanian bases, taking off from Romania, doing propaganda turns around the sky in Odessa and Kiev, and then landing back in Romania. If these planes ever engage in air-to-air combat against Russians, or air-to-ground combat, and then return to Romanian airfields, those Romanian airfields will be destroyed by Russia, because now Romania will become a direct party to the conflict. This is purely a propaganda move. Ukraine will have to find bases in Ukraine that these planes can operate out of. Every time they try to bring a base up online, the Russians destroy it. If they are successful in getting these F-16s into Ukraine, Russia will destroy those air bases. And if they try to use these aircraft against Russian military, those aircraft will be shot down. The F-16s are not a game changer. It's 100% propaganda ploy.
Lass uns abschließend über die Jahrestage der Atombombenabwürfe in Hiroshima und Nagasaki sprechen, die vor 79 Jahren Hunderttausende Todesopfer forderten. In seiner Gedenkrede mahnte der japanische Premierminister Fumio Kishida die Weltöffentlichkeit vor den katastrophalen Folgen des Einsatzes von Atomwaffen. Er sprach dabei aber lediglich von den Gefahren, die angeblich aus Russland oder China drohen. Die Rolle der USA bei den Atombombenabwürfen erwähnte er mit keiner Silbe. Hat das US-Establishment es final geschafft, die eigene Schuld und die eigenen Kriegsverbrechen aus dem öffentlichen Gedenken zu verdrängen? Darf ein japanischer Premierminister nicht mehr die USA als Täter nennen? Und wie wird in den USA mit dem Thema Hiroshima und Nagasaki umgegangen?
To be honest, the vast majority of Americans will not recall this. We don't care about it. It's part of ancient history. We've forgotten about nuclear war. We've forgotten about the consequences of nuclear war. Those Americans who do reflect on it will be evenly divided between a small number of anti-nuclear war activists who will, of course, highlight the fact that the only time nuclear weapons have been used is by the United States against Japan, and people who believe that might makes right, that nuclear weapons are an important component of America's security establishment, and will use the dropping of nuclear bombs on Japan as proof that nuclear weapons are needed and necessary, that they brought about an end to the war. They saved millions of American lives. But the vast majority of Americans won't even reflect on this. It'll be days that go by with no mark. As for the Japanese, there's no excuse for their reprehensible behavior. The United States dropped 2 nuclear bombs on Japan. We didn't need to drop the bombs on Japan. We simply sacrificed Japanese lives because we were trying to make a point to Russia, to the Soviet Union, that the war was coming to an end. We had these nuclear weapons. Don't try to overplay your hand in Europe. We began a nuclear arms race that continues to this day. That's the fact. And if the Japanese leadership can't recognize this, then shame on them. and don't be surprised when there is a nuclear conflict in the future and Japan finds itself incinerated by nuclear weapons. Japan should be at the forefront of an international effort to ban nuclear weapons, not sitting there excusing their use in the past and trying to shift blame onto Russia. Shame on Japan.